So I think that there needs to be a certain level of understanding, because collectively, if you look at areas that are prospering, that individuals from Northeast Ohio ended up moving to, those areas are very diverse. Those areas provide opportunities of engagement across the board for African American, Hispanic, Asian American, East Indian. So I think that if we're going to begin to move forward, particularly as it relates to these two communities, I think there needs to be an understanding so that we can move together in a collective or in a unified front. Because with that, just like was stated earlier, if we use that economic power, if we use a political power, if we use any dynamic that we choose, coming together, I think we can do a lot.
Joe, how about a business perspective on this? If you could change one thing affecting both communities.
I think I would force joint ventures between the African American and Hispanic community. It's never been done before, and I think if you said, we have the same passion, we have the same drive, and the same motivation, and still we have the same outcomes, that would be the first thing I would say, is force a joint venture between a successful Hispanic American and a successful African American, and really synergize that into something that could be trend-setting, because I think that would change. But beyond that, I would say is that you would take some of those proceeds and set aside for future entrepreneurship, future economic growth, future empowerment, and to give the skill sets and the financial literacy that's necessary for, again, we go back to our generation. One day we're not going to be here. It's those that are not here are going to be on the stage in the audience. We need to prepare those people. So I'd say joint venture, successful, and I don't talk about nickels and dimes. I mean something significant, something that is earth-shaking, where you say, you know what, those guys in Cleveland, they get it. I mean, look at the great organizations we have in Cleveland. You got Jumpstart, you got Team Neo, you got Cozy, you got GC, you got all these great organizations, and you have the hospitals and the medical. Force a joint venture economically, because from that, we tend to hire our own. Hispanic owners hire a lot of their own. African American owners hire a lot of their own. That would be the second generation of really encouraging entrepreneurship, but make sure that they keep the money in the community, so that you could have an e-prep school, you could have education, and continue that. That would be a dream.
Okay. Oh, yes, Max?
And I agree completely with the whole economic imperative and economic development side, but I also look from the perspective of Latinos and African Americans, the issue of health, and the discussion about health disparities. I was not going to say anything, but I just couldn't be quiet on that, because really it's a big issue. The reason why we tackle HIV and AIDS is because we felt that there was a need to address the disease from a culturally competent, and in our case, linguistically adequate way. If you look at the rates of infection in terms of just to use HIV, because that's my area of expertise, leading cause of death for African American women ages 25 to 44 is what? HIV and AIDS. So clearly there's a disparity in there. And so I would say that together with the conversation about economic development, we really have to pay attention to health and fitness. I'm not a good commercial for that, but
please don't feel like you have to hold back.
I'm a preacher,
That's right. I'm going to ask one more question before we open it up to the audience, and any of you can chime in. But I think Raymond, as we kind of walked in here, was asking this question. But what will be required to keep this dialogue going beyond a forum like this? How can our communities begin to work together, strengthen ties? Because we've all been to lots of feel-good meetings where you kind of walk out and everyone's happy, and then you go back to the east side and the west side. So any thoughts from any of you on how do we move the ball on this so that it's not just hot air, but...
Great question.
Go ahead, Joe.
I think we need to agree that there is an issue that we need to resolve. I think if we all agree, then we have to have an action plan. And the action plan should not be long, but it should be short, 3 items that's measurable, and we should revisit it, really like in 30 days or 60 days, not 6 months, not a year from now, and figure out, because it's current, and we need to address it, and we just cannot ignore it. Like you said, we've been there before, we talked about it, and we walk away. I'm a contractor, but I'm a business guy. You know, I see something, I go after it, I attack, and I wrestle it down, and I move on to the next one. These are issues that so far we've all ignored, or we really haven't been successful. I don't say we have ignored it, we haven't been successful. Let's walk away, figure there is a consensus. What are the 3 things we need to do? Come back and have a dashboard that we could say to those that are here, this is what we've done. The work has just started, and get other people to get involved and be contagious to move forward.
I think there's 2 levels that the issue can be moved forward. One on the larger scale, where the issues of health, education, economics can be addressed and must be addressed. But I think on a much smaller scale, there's also an opportunity to do things more one-on-one. I referred earlier to having brought together a group of 18 women, Latino, Asian, African American, and white women. Together we had 5 dinner parties where we just sat down over a meal and got to know each other. And so it was a very small group by comparison, but it was certainly a first opportunity for many of us to get a much better understanding of people who don't look like us. So I think there are grand ideas and grand opportunities to meet large number and big issues, but I think every one of us has an opportunity to get to know someone that doesn't look like them in a very intentional way.
Diana, wanted to
I
say
think
something?
I'm going to add on to that. At every location where we are businesses, educational institutions, we probably have people we can partner with, and we can start developing ideas at the small level. But we have a really great model also within the Hispanic Roundtable. We put together a convention that could be a model that we can implement, trying to bring together not only the Hispanic community. Right now, that's what we're doing, but maybe in the future we can start adding on the African American community and the Hispanic community to be a portion of, or developing some ideas together as part of that convention.
Excellent. Seeing no other comments, we will pause. Let's give our panel a round of applause, first of all. Today at the City Club, we are listening to a special program with panelists from the African American and Hispanic communities. We will return to our panel in a minute for our traditional City Club questions. We encourage you to formulate questions for our speakers now and remind you that your questions should be brief and to the point. We welcome all of you here, especially those who are guests. We hope you will join the City Club and become active in our ongoing civic dialogue. If you join this evening, you will be entitled to 4 free forums, a $120 value. For more information, see a member of the City Club staff after today's forum. This program is made possible by the leadership of Policy Bridge and the Hispanic Roundtable. Special shout out to my good friend Andres Gonzalez, who I've worked very closely with to pull this together. Thank you for your support and for playing such an integral role in making this the first of many similar dialogues possible. Now we would like to return to our speakers for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests. Holding the microphones today are PR and Programs Manager Carrie Miller, to my left, and Assistant Development Director Marcella Brown, to my right. And now our first question, please.
Good evening. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I know this is good to see everyone come together for far as a multicultural area, as far as to discuss these different issues. My question to you is this. In the area of workforce development, how can the Hispanic community, an African-American community, and also Ohio has a large percentage of Appalachian community of people, and parts on the social economic issue, everyone kind of like within the same area, social economically. How can everyone probably work collectively as far as to increase with workforce development?
Okay. I don't know if our employer wants to speak to that, or our community college, or go ahead, Joe.
I'll speak to that as an employer. As a firm, we go out and we hire interns on a yearly basis. In addition to that, we do mentorship, and we always mentor a minority firm, okay? We go out and we also speak to those to create a career path. The career path that you're speaking of, a lot of times is construction or engineering or architecture, because that's what I know best. I don't ask them to go into medical, but I ask them to take a career path. And that really starts with giving someone an opportunity